evening and welcome to this week's episode of The Walking Dead Support Group as we review episode 3 of The Walking Dead. You can join us on Facebook, join us the discussion. I'm Jason McCarthy. To my right is Alex Mann. To his right is Keith O'Brien.
Welcome everyone.
Hi everybody. Well, this episode was The Walking Dead, and it was called Walk With Me. So Keith, what is our total kill count for tonight's episode?
Tonight's kill count was light. We had 12 zombies. We didn't count the human kills. We had the couple in the helicopter, and then obviously when the governor and his group wiped out the National Guard group, but 12 zombies tonight.
And then my favorite part of not only our show, but The Walking Dead, our Carl watch. No Carl. Best episode of the whole, since the show started, there's been no Carl. So we have a zero time of Carl going unsupervised and unwatched by his parents. So I'm exceptionally happy about that. So let's jump right in now that we've got our two mandatory topics out of the way. Tonight, obviously, it was a huge turnout on our Facebook page tonight for us. So I want to thank the viewers at home, the people who joined, and as you get to see this in the rebroadcast, we've got people from Tennessee to the Bronx, all over, so a very active feed there, and I'm very happy, so thank you for joining us. And we had 4 members in our studio audience tonight joining us in a very stormy night here in New England. So as the perfect storm is brewing, we had 4 people join us, and one of them brought us an amazing gift, which we'll feature at the end of this episode, so I want to say thank you for that. So, Walk With Me.
Walk With Me.
What'd you get with that title, Jason? Anything? I didn't see a lot of walking in this one tonight for that.
The only thing I could think of is the tour that the governor gave Andrea. I mean, it was, not to segue into too many things at one time, but it was all smoke and mirrors. I think that was the whole gist of the show. It's just nothing was as it seemed tonight.
So he's pushing it by not really pushing it. It's a soft sell.
Yep.
About sticking around. What did he say? It was stick around for a day or two, you might like it.
Stick around for a day, you might like it. And that's about I'll agree with Jason on that. I mean, Walk With Me is the title. But he even touched on, like last episode's title, Seed. You know, even the governor of Woodbury there says, we've had our seed, we've had our winter, and now we're going to have our harvest. So, you know, and like Jason says, is Walk With Me, just join us and walk with us. You know, it's almost like I'm leading you to Woodbury, and I'm going to lead you to the next beginning, or the Savior, because he touched on that about how survivors are going to survive. He said, we will survive.
Right.
So it's all, you know, and I think it's all about control. You know, he's clearly controlling his group.
He absolutely does.
Yeah.
There definitely seems to be a ton of control on his end. The question that we put up on our Facebook page was, the governor, is he good, bad, or is he their version of Rick? Coming into this, I thought he was their version of Rick, but you know, by the end of this episode, we can all say he's a big fat liar.
Well, he's all. I mean, if you want, I think he's practically all three. He's definitely the Rick of that group, and he's maybe a little bit better at it. He's definitely controlling his group a lot better. I mean, obviously by his little speech at the end on the truck, he basically lied to his group. You know, and he's in full control. I mean, when Rick had their incident at the barn on the farm, everybody saw what he did. You know, there was no hiding it. This guy's hiding it very good. So he's good, bad, and
he's everything.
He's good, bad, and a leader.
Right.
And he kind of went in succession. I mean, he covered all 3 things, like you just said. He was good at first, and then he was very Rick-like, and then he was just plain bad. You know. And
yeah, he definitely he went the whole gambit, which was certainly interesting. And as one of our audience members has sent in, there's something in the tea, and with that, let's parlay that into another thing that one of the other members of the group has posted is the doctor-like guy is kind of creepy-licious. There's something wrong with that dude. As they were sitting around the table and he was asking, "How was your tea?" And Michonne obviously didn't drink the tea, and Laurie did. So you know, where are we going with that? So what do you think? Is there anything with that tea?
He was definitely watching for their reactions. Michonne, I don't know whether she would have drank the tea if she drinks tea or not, but she's not the trusting type.
Oh yeah.
No.
But Andrea, it's definitely perked up. I don't know whether it maybe could have been the medicine that they've been pumping through her.
Right.
She's just been sick for God knows how long.
Right. They gave her IV drugs and saline and got her fluids back up, but she did all of a sudden rebound in this episode where and she was perky and. You know, she for somebody who you know what she's been through. I figure Michonne's been through similar things, so you figure she would kind of have her guard still up. Her guard's down, and with her guard down, what's bringing Merrill in this? Merrill had all his guards up through everything. He didn't like anybody except his own brother, and he's taking orders from this guy. And we know he was a blatant racist, and he's hanging out with a very mixed population in this community, and he seems okay. You know, he was a little uppity with the crazy science dude in that room,
Right.
but you know, he seems to be very docile. Now, maybe losing a hand will do that to you. Since I have both hands, I don't know.
Correct. But the doctor touches on that with the governor. I mean, you know, you've got the governor leading the group. Doctor's got it. I mean, governor's got his little Dr. Mindbender. Or however you want to do it. I mean, if he's got something in the tea, and it's like his tea. The doctor was all about information. The doctor wants to know, and the governor and the doctor are working together. I mean, if you watch the episode, it's clear that he was on the radio. You know, they're well equipped for survivors. He says, "I got 2 survivors. One's dehydrated, and I got something for you to work with, or investigate, or experiment with." And then you see the doctor with the heads, and the heads are still alive, and he's intrigued. He wants to know the information. So was there something in the tea? Is there something in the tea? Do they have everybody in Woodbridge on just a little bit of Valium so they keep them in control? And then, as you say, why is Merrill being kept around? And the doctor touched on that when he talked to the governor. Every tool has a toolbox. Do you think a hammer is the right tool for this process? And the next cutscene, no, it wasn't Merrill talking to the women. It was the governor cooking breakfast and the doctor serving tea.
Right.
You know, I mean, it was clearly they were in full control. If they wanted to make them disappear, they would have disappeared. But I agree with Andrea. She bounces back, but she's still a follower. She's like, you know, what do I do next? What do I do next? I mean, she's still she's a different person than last season, but
She does seem to need an alpha type personality
Yes.
to kind of
Yes.
drag her along. Well, one of our viewers is asking, how long do you think the guards can keep the secret on the governor? Jay, what do you think?
I was coming to the conclusion, just like Merrill, these guys seem to be hired thugs. Nothing more, nothing less. They're just going to do what they need to do and take orders from the governor. And they're just going to follow in step as long as he provides for them. You know, and that may be what it comes down to. You know, if they stop reaping any benefits, then, you know, it could turn rather ugly. They'll start spilling the beans, so to speak.
Well, in our viewer party, one of the things that came up was he made good on his promise to that guy. I'll go find your buddies, and we'll go in there. And obviously that was a setup. If you haven't watched it and you're watching us, shame on you. Watch that episode first. It turns out to be a huge setup, and so that raised the question of, and that's where we have this character question about the governor. Obviously, military guys would definitely be a threat to a governor's kind of status, that they're trained. I think one of them was a captain. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they're used to their hierarchy of commands and structure. There could have been a revolt of sorts. So what do? They take him out, and now they've got all their supplies, and he puts on the great show. I mean, it wasn't bad. What did you think of his move, Keith? Is that how you would have played it out?
probably.
Probably. I gotta take them all down.
I was kind of, to be honest with you, I was kind of surprised. And I was kind of surprised that he rolled up at like 90 miles an hour, and everybody was waiting in the wheat field or whatever, in the grass to kill him. I was kind of surprised. I thought he was really, he wanted to bring him in to their fold, you know, just for a little added protection, you know. I mean, but I don't know. It's just, you know, it was kind of a shock to see him go right after those guys, you know. But I mean, shame on those guys. They should have had their guard up a little more. But it just, like you said, they're just a ragtag group of whatever it was, 12 guys, you know. 3 trucks and a helicopter, and they were out, they're out on their own. Who knows how many people they had, and the governor just got rid of them. The governor and his group got rid of them.
You pose an interesting question. How on earth, while they're looking for zombies, and you see them looking around and scouting for zombies, how on earth did those guys sneak up on them in a wide open field?
That's a good point. Yeah,
I mean,
and why would
this
they
is
just sit
our our military.
Yeah, and how come they're not looking for their? I mean, they have 3 guys on helicopter. How come they're not out looking for them?
Right.
They were well equipped. What are they doing?
Well, you know what though, they did say that they were overrun, and we're assuming that at this point logic is making a lot of sense. Although it seemed like that base that obviously was they bunkered down for a while and they got away with it. So and that was an interesting concept of how long can you really maintain the walls, and they kept driving that home. Yeah. We've got big walls. We've got these big walls. Well, really? Eventually, these things always seem to find a way. A wall is only as good as long as you maintain it, and
Yes.
How long can you maintain that kind of a wall?
They have some kind of perimeter, but they did say they have to walk the perimeter. I'm sure they don't have walls
Right.
around the town. They had the governor's assistant, let's call her for now. She was giving her like the tour and orientation. You can't do this, you can't do that. And
Welcome to campus.
Welcome to the campus. That's the school stores over there, security's over there. That's the rotunda. That's where everybody meets. Movie night is Saturday. Night of the Living Dead.
But did you notice though there was a scene in one of the towns as they were walking, and it was between Michonne and Lori. She looks over the shoulder, and there is on the the general store. It says town meeting. Like there's a town meeting. I found that interesting, but it was. I think people wanted that sense of normalcy, so they're willing to accept possibly what the governor's going to offer and not question it. And I think people don't start questioning that authority much later on until they start seeing the breakdown of something. And one of
which brings to the logic of walk with me.
Right, and the other one of the comments was, what is the over/under on Merrill staying loyal to the governor? And to be honest with you, as we were discussing it, this popped into my head. We know eventually he's going to cross paths with Daryl, and he was asking about Daryl, and so we know he still has that connection to his brother. That's going to break him, I think. And I think that was a great question. I hadn't thought of that till it was posted there. What do you think is going to happen? What is this family reunion? This this backwoods hillbilly redneck reunion they're about to have within an episode or two? Because they're not going to string this on forever. That they're going to cross paths.
I don't think that one will kill the other. I honestly think they'll just beat each other until one of them stops moving for a while.
You think the brothers are going to fight?
Yeah, and then pop a beer. You know what I mean?
And pop a beer.
That's what these guys do. That's
break out a 6-pack of Southern Cross.
Absolutely.
For those of you who haven't watched Christine, that's a reference to the movie Christine.
Very good. Very good crossover.
What do you think? What do you think the family reunion is going to be like?
I think there was one episode where Daryl was struggling last season, and he had his brother as a vision. And he kept saying Rick, 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 Rick. So he's obviously going to tell his little brother that you're just Rick's little follower. You're Rick's killer guy, kill boy. His pet. And they'll probably have some kind of reunion, and then the governor will say, "I'm done with you, Merle," and take him up on a roof and handcuff his left hand.
All right, well, and we were joking about this in the other room, but there is a strange analogy between the group that Rick is leading to the group that the governor is leading, to the point where they actually have their own Glenn and they have their own T-Dog.
Yes.
But while Rick's group's got Daryl, they have Merrill.
Thankfully, they have no Lori and no Carl.
Well, we don't know that yet. We know so far we haven't seen a
yet.
Carl, and I'm happy about that because we were Carl-free completely. But
we have to start.
It's almost like, remember the episode of Seinfeld where they run into the mirror images of themselves?
Well, actually, they stole it from Shaun of the Dead when they're walking down the alleys.
Okay, right. That's right.
Same thing. They got their own group of zombie killers, but it's the same. It's the same process.
So now what's going to happen is you have people who all fill the same roles. You're not going to have any specialists outside of the creepy doctor guy, and maybe the 2 inmates that are stuck. That who knows what they're going to end up doing with. But it was kind of strange how they had the same people almost. It was. Especially the guy who we're guessing is there, Glenn, because he was very timid about having to go out and knife the guy. And that was Glenn in the beginning. Yep. But he looks like Glenn.
Yeah.
He looked like Glendon. I was like, and that's when we all started noticing the similarities between the two. What I really think is going to happen between Merrill and Daryl, and somebody should slap their mama for naming them those two similar names. Buford T. Justice should just go punch her in the mouth. But I think what's going to happen is that will break Merrill away from the governor, because he's certainly more docile. Daryl has evolved into this group where Merrill has been sedated into the group. And I think he'll be happy to see his brother enough that he'll want to break free of that.
But Daryl has been sedated as well, with that concept. You know, that Daryl has been sedated over the time. Rick is definitely, the group and Rick have controlled him, and he's definitely their alpha male guard dog, as we all know. But you're correct, you know.
Well, if the theory that is presented by Tammy and a ton of people who are now agreeing with her, if that theory is right, that there is something in this tea, and that he is able to kind of manipulate them a little bit through whatever herbal, pharmaceutical, better living that they're doing, it wouldn't take much to break Merrill away from that.
No.
But Daryl truly has become part of the group. He found a niche.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They realize how much they need him. The conversation between the governor and the creepy doctor dude, I don't think they really are comfortable with him.
They're not comfortable at all.
They're very comfortable. Rick's group is very comfortable with Daryl.
Right, and the governor will cut him loose in a minute.
Here's what I think is going on with Merrill. I don't think he's being sedated so much as it's a change of tactics for him. You have to adapt to survive. He can't do it on his own. So he's taking a more docile, mellow approach to it.
Right.
And he's doing what he needs to do to fit in until he no longer needs this community, you know, when he finds Daryl or, you know, however it works out.
Right.
But I think it's strictly tactics with him, I think. Because you kind of saw the old Merrill with the doctor. You know he's still there. So I think it's, like I said, I think it's just tactics with him.
Right,
Chess game.
and Merrill tells the story about how they found him and he was near dead. So the governor's group finds Merrill, one person, and they bring him in, and lure him in with a milk bone, and then start putting something in their tea, and now you got yourself another tool in the toolbox, as the doctor says. You know, they roll up on 12 military guys in National Guard and just say, forget that, we just want your supplies, and they just gun them down.
Right.
So they pick and choose.
Oh, absolutely.
He picks and chooses how he runs his group, much like Rick. So the two groups together are very similar, but very different.
And as I said, there's 74 people in that community.
Yeah.
What percentage do you think is women?
Oh, I'm beginning to think it's a higher percentage of females. And I'll bet you most of the males are under a certain age bracket, that they're not a virile type threat to the governor and a few others. I mean, it was 28 days that
Yes.
they didn't really care about anything. They just wanted to drag the women in, so they had the beacon out. So there's definitely something going to happen with the governor and going from there. And as the season goes on, the next episode is going to be the killer within. So if are we going to be inside the jail? Are we going to be inside the community?
Or both.
Or both.
Or both.
Because I'm almost hoping we see both now. They've given us enough. Oh, and they explained everything about Mushoni. The creepy doctor guy figures out that the heads with no arms and no jaw means that you can walk with them. So that was explained, and and we knew that from the comic book and from other viewers posting stuff up.
Posts.
So we knew that was the reason why. But they actually explained that tonight, which was a good explanation for us. But the killer within, who's the likely killer that we're going to see? And if you're playing both scenarios, give me both killers.
I wonder if it's more symbolism. I don't know. Maybe they're not necessarily talking about the killer within, the killer inside of you that needs to adapt and become a killer in this type of afterlife, if you will, our post-apocalyptic world. Or is it, someone going to be walking around inside of these either-or communities and actually killing people?
Well, what are the, let me jump in really quick, because there was one of our viewers, and I wanted to get this in. James had thrown out a little bit of information from the comic book about the governor. One of the things that they actually do is a zombie-style gladiator match.
In the comic book.
In the comic book. So, and I know in one of the trailers, the governor talks about how this is personal and about we're going to take our world back. But he knows they're infected. So then, how does he know that? But anyways, who's the killer within for you?
All right, the killer within for me is, and I'm thankful that nobody stole my thunder this time. The killer within, and I will go with that, it's in both groups, and I'm going to go with that it's episode 4, and we all know from, me and Alex, we both go back and forth texting on other shows. We're due for a filler episode, tearjerker, hug me, killer episode. So the killer within, I'm going to say, is going to be centered both on the Rick and the governor, because Rick was not a killer when this started. And now we know Rick is clearly a killer. He will kill zombies, and he will kill people that are a threat to his group without a moment's hesitation. And the governor, if that's his character, is he the governor of Atlanta? Was he the governor of Georgia, or they just call him the governor? But this guy, we don't know much about him, so maybe we're going to get some backstory on him. But I don't think that before the post-apocalyptic world that he was a killer. And now he's clearly killing people on both sides of the tracks. He's killing zombies, and he's killing groups of humans that benefit him or don't benefit him. So the killer within next week is going to be about Rick and the governor, centered on them. That's my theory.
All right, I'm going to go with the killer within is both groups, but I think it's going to be a little more subtle. I think what it'll be is it'll be the prisoner with the handlebar mustache. He's
Jeff Foxworthy.
the Jeff Foxworthy of those two. I think he's going to end up doing something, and I think somebody within the governor's group is going to do it. And what'll happen is it's going to force Rick on one side to act, and it's going to force the governor to hide something on the other end. And if I'm completely wrong, then I'm going to go with that the killer within is probably the virus that turns them over, and that it's a further explanation of it's killing you and you're dying, and then once you come back reanimated. It's going to be my best get.
3 great theories, and for those...
Well, you say that because there's 3 of us here.
There's
You don't
3 of
want to
us, yeah,
insult people
no,
because
yeah.
there's a katana sword on the table.
No,
For those
but
of
I
you
mean-
who haven't seen it, by the way, we have our tribute to probably the baddest person on TV
right now is Michonne.
Is Michonne.
We have our own katana sword prop here, along with my zombie books. But like you said, this will be our question of the week. What does everybody think about next week's episode? What do you think the killer within is? And we'll who's right, Jason, Alex, or Keith? We'll
It's gotta be me, guys. Come on.
Come on, it's gonna be you.
Well,
We're all gonna be wrong, and
Of course,
then
your
we'll
own
be
wife who's watching the show
we'll be
live,
talking
I'm
about it.
right. So just that I would tell you. Just as things are kind of coming forward for the show, we know the shows are going to run until December 2nd. And then they're going to take that AMC hiatus, which they love to do with all their great shows, and it won't come back until February. And as of now, there's only 2 shows slated left. So who really knows if there's going to be 2 more after that. It puts them around that timeline to do it. And hopefully they'll be returning Breaking Bad now to finish that storyline off, because that's also killing me. So we know those are going to be happening. So what we have to look forward to is Herschel is alive.
Correct.
Kyle is now a one-man wrecking crew, who we did not have to put up with in this episode.
Yes.
Andrea apparently is over whatever the flu she had, so that's good. But where do we see this what's going to be the cliffhanger on December 2nd, do you think? If we had to guess right now, what's going to be this cliffhanger that they're going to hit us with? Not that we need it, because we're going to watch it.
We're going to watch it anyways. I think possibly December 2nd's cliffhanger will be probably the birth, Lori's baby, and then we'll if our information is correct, which we know it probably is because we got it off the internet. Everything's correct on the internet. Shocking.
Killer Within could be the baby.
Killer Within could be the baby.
Could be the baby.
I'm sure a lot of people would. I know it's not It's a personal favorite. A lot of friends of mine, and I will admit it, that the killer within is the stillborn baby, and it just rips Laurie apart. I know it's not a great theory, and I don't want to get anybody angry out there, but it could happen. But December 2nd, if we're only going to have 2 episodes that we have to talk about for 2 months, I think the December 2nd ends with the birth of the baby, and who knows, it could be like the end of V, you know.
There's an obscure reference.
Yeah.
Jason, what do you think? What will be the cliffhanger for us?
I
And I will play this back when we do the cliffhanger episode. So
I do somewhat agree with Keith, but I think they're going to compound it a little bit. I say Carl, and this is a long shot because this never happens, but I think Carl goes missing.
oh, that would be awesome. Just saying.
I think that he's going to go missing. I don't know how far that their community is from him, but from the prison, but I wouldn't be surprised if something strange like that happened and he wound up there.
All over in Woodbridge?
Yeah.
It's a good
Right.
theory.
If I had to guess what our
Like Sophie, and the governor
Yeah.
gets him?
Exactly.
I'm going to go out on as far as I can do on this one and say that the cliffhanger will be. I think the baby's going to be born within the next couple episodes. To be honest with you, we know she's very much into that 9th month or close to it, so I think that's going to happen sooner than later, which could very well go into the pregnancy and the killer within. But I think what will end up happening is they're going to decide they have to leave the prison, and there's going to be a crossing of paths. And you're going to have a butting of heads between Rick and the governor that will take us into that break and then come back to see what happens. So as we're nearing the end of yet our 3rd episode, tremendous support tonight on the Walking Dead Support Group Facebook page. There it is on the screen below, Walking Dead Support Group on Facebook. 13 new members tonight, so that's amazing. That was absolutely awesome.
And we're going international? Or going
We
national?
definitely
Going
fly national.
East
So
Coast.
to our Tennessee and our Bronx and a few other people who joined us tonight that you have your profiles kept because we're obviously creepy. Thank you. And what we always like to do is end off our show with what did you learn tonight? So Keith, what did you learn tonight?
I didn't learn much tonight, but this is what I learned this week. This is way off tangent, by the way. For all my zombie apocalypse preparedness groups, I was at a local store down in Foxborough. We'll give a props to Bass Pro. And for all you people that are preparing on your own, the Bear Grylls machete is on recall. I saw a sign. So if you have a Bear Grylls machete and you're preparing,
The machete's on a recall.
the machete's on a recall. I think it had something to do with the handle falling off. So return it immediately to where you purchased it, and you can get a new one. So that's what I learned this week, that the machete you might have.
So they'll recall the machete, but not the show.
Yeah, exactly. And, and I wouldn't buy a Bear Grylls machete anyways. You just put money in his pocket, get a real machete anyways. But it was up on a big sign. It said big, it was my wife that spotted it. Brenda spotted it.
So did you have to return the 3 that you had?
No, I don't have a Bear Grylls machete. I have, I have a better one. I have a katana sword right here. What do I need a machete for?
Jason, what did you learn from tonight's episode?
I think
from Keith.
I think that tonight we discovered the most dangerous person since the zombies have arrived. I think that the governor is going to lay waste to everything in his path. I think tonight that we've learned that, some people will stoop to anything to keep control, and he's basically running an occultist system within that community.
And I would say the one takeaway I'm going to come away from this show is that they obviously got a bigger budget because there's just a lot more walkers. But what I found most interesting is in subsets, they're coming up with their own names. So obviously they've never called them zombies. Rick and his group were calling them walkers. The governor and his group are calling them biters. And if you noticed, he actually stuck his hand inside where the jaw should have been in the walker's mouth in that creepy doctor's little fish tank stuff. So that was an odd little risk. So as we get ready to wrap up, once again, this is the Walking Dead Support Group. Keith O'Brien, Jason McCarthy,
Thank you.
Alex Mann, the Katana, Chester, the dead guy who obviously lost the knife that we stuck in him. And I want to say a special thanks to, it was Billy
Camperides, a friend of mine, made us this pumpkin we have out in front. a
And-
jack-o'-lantern in honor of Halloween, and he did a nice Walking Dead on the jack-o'-lantern. I think we're going to zoom in on that and maybe pop the lights off so you can see it a little bit better.
And just so you know, that was actually put up on Twitter and sent off to the producers of the show, and they liked it so much that they retweeted it, and it's gone viral. So once again, the Holbrook version of the Walking Dead support group has gone beyond our little boundaries, and I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Have a great night. Enjoy your Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Enjoy the storm.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
I'm sorry. When I went to